Hello? Well, and did you all enjoy the backtesting video quite a bit? So today we're going to do another one, this time a little more focused on what would be execution, since in the previous video we saw how to build a narrative and how to read order flow. So we are going to follow the same order as my course, my YouTube playlist, where in the first videos I show you the rules, the basic concepts, then I teach you how to apply them to build a narrative, and finally I give you execution examples. So we're going to try to make this the same. Well, I restarted the page just in case. Just so you see that it's not altered in any way. It's completely random. And it gives us September 13, 2022. We're going to create a new session. Let's go here to the Nasdaq. September 13, 2022. 13. Ready could start from 0 hours, I guess. Let's add 2 days here. I don't really know what this is for. I will try not to get too involved in execution, in reading. Sorry, I will do my best. Sometimes it is a bit inevitable for me, but well, this thing hasn't loaded. Or what happened? Well, the first thing is to check the news. Was this at market open or close? Let's see what we have. September 13th. 13. Tuesday. We have this at 7:30. Okay. An hour before the opening. We have no news here. Ready? So nothing else. The next day, the same time. Okay. Well, let's move on. I'm going to look at the higher time frame here. Okay. This was from the previous video. Well, this went around here and actually returned to the same area of the previous video. Look here where we had done this first up.
Miren cómo llegó por aquí.
Look how it arrived here.
Casualidad.
Good coincidence.
Bueno.
At this moment, we are moving up from this. This would be like the one responsible for this internal area and also for taking us out of there. The price came to him, and from there it continued upwards. But in this time frame, I see that the price is making a somewhat bearish structure. However, I like the area to continue upwards. We have already managed to liquidate all these impulses, and it is from here that there was this notable movement from that time, in that session that in fact I think I wanted to see more drop. I think in that session, if I remember correctly, I would expect to see more drop, and the price just kept climbing. I said if this were 5 seconds, I would like to see it take this to look for the double bottom. But since it's a higher time frame, and it's Nasdaq, we have to keep in mind that In the long term, these indices, especially this index that gathers technology stocks, will be on the rise historically, despite recessions and pullbacks, everything. So
The topic changes slightly when we position ourselves on the Nasdaq at the higher time frame.
So, well, we are at a midpoint, really a point where we could calmly turn bullish, or maybe make a sweep of this. But since we are going to operate a session,
And from here to here there are almost 2,000 points away, so I do not expect the Nasdaq to drop 2,000 points in one day, especially on these dates when it was worth less. Ready? So without further ado, I don't have any expectations. Before the session, I'm going to speed this up a bit. I want to reach the opening. It should be around here, because this is the news that was out at 7:30. This was this news. Oh, they removed it. It was already out, I think. But well, this was the news that was there at 7:30. It caused a reaction apparently from this area that over a longer period seemed like... Oh, a quick shift began.
in this time frame, it seemed like some sort of responsible for something. It was like the only area visible in this whole movement. So, it is quite a significant area.
So let's take advantage of the fact that there was news.
You already know that I've told you that the news gives an excellent indication of the price direction. Depending on the reaction afterwards, we'll get ahead a bit of the opening, which is when I start trading.
8 and 15 to see. Ready? This is the opening candle. So, where I am at this moment, okay. I think this is the one responsible for taking this out over here, so news.
He stayed around here for a long time, which means it leaves us with an imbalance. He showed no significant rejection from any of these areas. For now, I don't deem this a crucial area, honestly. This was an area from the previous Friday. Market opened and rose. We have this imbalance upwards. We are reacting well to this area in case this was backwards.
30%. Vamos a dejar que nos hable un poco. La apertura sigue cayendo. Todo esto fue lo de London.
Towards market close. Basically, it's taking all from the previous days, and this drop is good. As a large area, I see this. I can look for a way to go to some short. Go over there. Well, since the idea of this test is to show you more execution, so I will be forcing operations. Do not spend too much on reading. I will try to force operations. I take this as a reference from here. This in a higher time frame will be an area we have around here, the 30%. So I start trying to see confluences of levels. Let's take this. There's an area here that interests me, even though the responsible is around here. I like this one more. Wow. This will definitely look for a way to go over there. It hasn't wanted to go to the imbalances here. In fact, it already touched one of 15 minutes. Let's see. Well, validated areas for now here. For example, there was this one, and it was simply taken away to come to the imbalance, and took it here, so it can give me an indication that the order flow is bearish. We see this rejection in 5 minutes with the opening.
Recuerden que cuando llegue la hora de la apertura, olvídense de todo.
The time comes to lose all the volume there is in the wholesale market. The greater the magnitude we will obtain. So if the market in London, as soon as we reach the New York opening, it is most likely that movements will begin to expand more. So try not to follow the small areas. Let the pair show a bit the areas it wants to create. Well, now let's see. It leaves us this area, which is reacting to the 30%. Here had made a downward movement. Rise here. If here it gives us a push, like a swing failure, or if it directly comes to take out this low, which was the bearish swing failure, to this small flip that happened here, then those are the two possibilities that we have. Seeing this candle right now, the price comes and tries to make a swing failure and starts to fall from this tab and this imbalance, or comes here to test this, to see what it wants to do with the order flow. Remember, I'm looking to go short. So those are like the narratives one looks for here. It's respecting the 50% of this imbalance. So I like it. Let's see what the next candle does. This went up from there, down, it seems. It first went up, made a swing failure in this candle's pattern, and down, and already took this. So at this moment, there is the possibility of a double bottom. What happens if this setup that is forming here wasn't so low? But let's pretend that this same price action is forming for me in an optimal sales area. If this same thing were forming over here, what would I do? I would place a sell stop more or less around here, so that if this double bottom that is forming fails to fulfill its function, it takes me in sales. Why wouldn't I take it here? Because we are
on the floor of this, that yes, this might be a continuation of the bias, the bearish bias we have. But it's risky. It's risky because we're going to take this bottom at once. And many times, when the price is making these movements, it makes stronger pullbacks. Besides, this was the first touch to this area, and we might expect it to come and make a double top here. We're going to end up with a very badly positioned entry. So if I want to make this kind of entry, I have to aim for a target. I would have to go straight to this target to make it profitable. So I would place a sell stop here, and literally, I would have to protect myself with all this, because there's a possibility it takes this out, comes back, and makes the double top here, and all that, right? But nevertheless, it gives me a decent ratio. So it's not an entry I would take with the account. But let's see how it would happen. As I say, I don't take it in a real scenario, simply because we're below. So here comes the motto of selling high and going down. We want to sell bottom to top, even if the movement is quite trending. The only thing I don't like about this scenario is when this is left unmitigated. It's a very rare occasion when the movement of the news stays like this unmitigated. It has happened, yes, and in fact I have seen it more in bullish cases when an inflation report comes out or something like that, and the market is ready to continue rising, than in these scenarios. So, several little things were found, but let's see what the next candle does, which for example, would have already activated the... This one is already making a pullback, and so far the double bottom came to take this high, because it is making the double bottom from this origin, and because in turn it failed to break this wolf, so this high runs its risk. It also rejected from there, so it is a good price action for it to take the low again. Now, what's going on right now? I'm going to move to break even. Obviously not. I mean, after having such a low sale, that has to be completely low risk, because from here to an opening, there are many points. This is exaggerated, but the idea is to focus on what happens in a setup so you learn how to handle it. What I want to convey to you is that I already know that... I like it a little. I already know that these highs are the first touch in this area. If my idea is correct, even if the price can take the first touch, it must continue to protect the area from which the first touch is generated. So I have to allow the price to return and move. Usually when people move to break even quickly, it's because the price makes the first touch and immediately moves to break even. But they know the strong movement happens in the double top. It's clear. There will be times when the price is very directed and aims for quick targets. Done. But for trade management, that's why I insist you get into the trade. In double bottoms or double tops, don't try to guess at the first touches. You must have the price make the first touches, and you set an alert above this, and only then come and see if it gives you the double top. Well, let's see how it continues to develop. Okay. Well,
Let's see, the next candle keeps falling. Well, first note I want to make here, don't chase the price from this area that is generated after breaking this. It's something I've talked about a lot in my Discord. The price can easily reach the high of this and still continue to fall. This is not the responsible factor in this entire linear movement downward. The area that is generated afterward is not responsible. The responsible area is not this one. This is always a trap area because it is right before entering the swing area. And generally, it's small, so the price can take it in both directions. It can take it high and not mean a change in structure. So never chase this area. Well, let's see what it continues to do. Quite directional so far. It's coming back well here. Price came here, then failed to set a new low. Goes up. It comes to test this area and wants to go up again when this starts to look like this. It's when the price usually makes its pullbacks, if there's a body close above this in the next candle. There we could be seeing a bigger pullback. If not, we can continue down so far. It's still in a range. Okay. A rejection, still no close. It remained in a range now. There's a close, but we are rejecting this other candle, which is a scenario I've discussed in my Discord as well. When it already closed, with a body above the high we're waiting for. But before that, it left us another high. So in those cases, we want another body close above that last candle that had made a swipe. It hasn't given it. It came to take the low of this displacement law. Take note of that, which was discussed in my Discord, so you keep it in mind. If this candle had closed with the body directly, it would be fine. But since it didn't steal, it was a rejection, and then it didn't close above this one anymore. But the eye was no longer this, but this. We want a body close above it too, because therefore, here comes the rejection fulfilling its function, comes and takes the low of this entire displacement law. And right now it is at this point in this fractal that gave us this continuation in this shorter temporality. Now, let's see what it offers us. If this fails to rise, we could see a strong downward movement. Because this was a first touch on something here. Then it came and took it out. And this would theoretically be a double bottom. Clearly, we are in a downtrend at this moment. But it's for you to understand everything. Okay. Well, then here's something similar to what was happening here. The price moves in one direction and starts to make a slow process. Slow. So here, how do you know if it will be a pullback, or this a failure to put one below? When it makes a strong movement, again, closes with body above this, and hopefully above this, fractal, all these candles are bearish. Then, to make the big pullback, I would expect a close here. On the contrary, if this is not the displacement or anything, we continue to the downside. For now, we are failing to put a new low, so we are in a range at this moment. What? More important I see over here. An upward imbalance here that closed with the body. It's testing it here. This is more of ICT. Inversion fair value gap. Okay, he never closed here. He takes the low. The low. Let's see the next candle. Okay, the rejection is taking effect. Next candle, rejection up and continues down. It It hasn't given any confirmation upwards, so I can manage the trade with this calmly. For example, here, I can calmly take a partial. I'm already more than halfway through the move, and along the way, this small one has validated. The price couldn't even get past this area, which is the area where I tell you not to chase the price from there. But the price came to it and gave us a position from it. So I can close a partial here, and I can place the small stop above this high. Well, let's look a bit 5 minutes. How things look. You see, there was an imbalance here too. Then it might be the other reason why it respected that point. Yeah, and look that it respected it just like the 15-minute one we saw above. 15 minutes here. Oh no. I think I had seen this other one here, the one for a minute. Yes, this one for a minute also respected the fits, so this 5-minute one also respected. Have that imbalance. I would rather put the stop here above the candle of the partial imbalance running on of this small that in this time frame would be responsible for taking us out of this other area. Is it ready? Let's see what the price keeps doing. At this point, I don't want to take a loss. I mean, the price already did something very linear. I no longer want to take a loss. I could move the stop more than now. And who would even do it in profit? They would do it in profit. Here, at this high, it hasn't generated any other significant swing along the way that would make me do a trailing to see 5 minutes here where the stop loss is. For example, we could do a trailing up to here now, because the price already gave us a 5-minute imbalance, and we could give it the possibility to come and take this out, to touch the imbalance and continue. So we can have our stop up to this point, and there it reached the TP that was in the area we had taken as a magnet, which was this one. I would have put this on full screen from the start, so all this wouldn't take up so much space, but oh well. So, well, this one reached TP. As I tell you, this is a trade that I normally wouldn't take in real life, because it's so far down, and because initially you saw how you have to protect yourself with the whole zone I'm working with. It was with this zone, if I'm not like that with this zone, because this is the zone we were reacting to. The imbalance didn't leave us any considerable area along the way, just fractals. It's opening time, and at opening, almost everything that it's going to leave is fractals, due to the high volatility of the moment. But oh well, it ended up happening. Skip the points. I mean, I want you to focus on the setup itself. This is a trade of 117 points, but just as it is 117 points, it can be a 20-point trade on a 5-second chart. Are not followed in what you trade in seconds, in minutes, in hours. Do not look that it is the same, only that the trade will take longer. It will take more time, but I read the price in the same way. Here, what happened is what I told you. The small origin here, where there was a first touch and it could show us the possibility of that double bottom.
So that's why I'm not going to protect here, but rather I protect myself with the entire area I'm working with, and assuming that the price is going to give me something. Protect yourselves.
Consider risks. What if I'd placed the stop loss right at this point? And also, when I come from a rejection that stops the tick, it goes in my direction, and I start blaming everything in life except myself. I start to pray, to blame things that have nothing to do with it, operate with what's on the chart. If it proves you right, fine. If not, there's no problem. So, well, this was a bit of what I wanted to do differently from the other one, with a bit more execution in terms of how to handle the trade. In this case, well, there's a good runner. I didn't really keep track of this because it was 2 years ago, but look how I caught a quick bias thanks to the fact that we have news and the price stayed over there. We didn't have a strong rejection. For me, we are not in a considerably strong area yet. Look how the area we were in is very similar to all these, and this is from previous days. This one caught my attention the most. It shows a large area, an area of good volume. So he was my man at that moment, and knowing that the price on the path in these pullbacks never came to seek the higher time frame imbalance above, tells me there's a magnet further down. So that's my way of looking for a quick bias. So well, let me know what you think about this session. This is to complement the previous one. I didn't focus so much on narrative. Even though it's necessary to read order flow, the focus was more on taking the operation, seeing how it would be managed, seeing when to move, to break even, and when not to. Notice that the price didn't even come to take the first touch of this. The price was very directional. As I was saying, when it's very directional, there are very rarely second touches until a target is met. But I always want to give the price the opportunity, and if on the way it validates another area for you, that's where you can start trailing. Additionally, there was an imbalance, so we applied some multi-time frame analysis to verify.
Also, here, I was reacting, so I should attribute it more to that imbalance itself than to this area, and that's why I moved it better, to the high of the candle of the imbalance. So well, this already.
Look, we didn't take long. It was an hour of work. Price has now entered the zone. I mentioned earlier, my interest had shifted, sparking more curiosity. While in theory, this is the main point of focus, this detail here. And if we look closely, this little aspect becomes essential.
Price was already determined.
See that I skipped this and went directly to this, because this one is more focused on the entire volume area. This is more involved where all this volume has been, where there has been negotiation. It's near the 50, the 30, before reaching it. So that was my area of interest. It went through this one like nothing, and it just got to this one, and there it started to show some consolidation. This is more about intuition, more about looking at the chart, seeing what it reacts to and what it doesn't. And for this, nothing helps more than experience. So invest time in looking at the chart. Where does the price react? I always told you.
An effective backtesting is not just randomly placing trades. Effective backtesting is to look here at what happened.
From where it started, how it did it, to where it went, what it took, why it took it. Start to see all the reversal points, what's happening here, what it's reacting to, how it's reacting. And that's what will help you gain that visual memory to quickly identify things. I'll see if on another occasion I can make another video for you. Really, the intention was not to show a winning trade or anything. Fortunately, it was a winner. But I would also like to get a losing trade to continue reading the narrative and show you how I would adapt or what I would do in a scenario where I take a losing trade. What do I do? How do I zoom out to see where I am? Reevaluate what I did wrong. So we'll leave it for another time, and hopefully I'll get a losing trade and be able to do that. I feel it could be quite productive video. So I hope you really like it. Share it with people you know, if it was useful to you, and the same goes for the channel. It's very valuable information. I know it's free and all, but I'm sure it provides much more value than a lot of the paid stuff out there. Bye bye.